And away we go. It is another nightcap brought to you by our friends at Galactic Fried Chicken. Visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Get your chicken tenders, get your deviled eggs, your coleslaw, your fries, whatever the case may be. Get that award winning chicken from Galactic Fried Chicken right over in Northern Kentucky. They deliver anywhere in the 275 loop using the app. Save yourself 15% by saying pump it up, and be sure to get some of that Galactic sauce that's out of this world. Keegan Nickerson is filling in for Chad tonight. Chad has been on Twitter talking about how he had to run Kelsey to the doctor. We're happy to hear that it may just be as simple as the flu. So that all said, Keegan, thanks for filling in tonight.
Happy to be here.
All right. Well, it is everyone's favorite Bout talking on a Tuesday, as there were some pressers. But we will start off right off the horn with Satterfield. Coach Satterfield there with his two All-Americans, Mason Fletcher, Dante Corleone. Satterfield led off the presser, saying that Corey's going to be back, talking about the entire offensive line coming back. Obviously, it's the strongest unit on the team, as Corey did eclipse 1,000 yards. Happy to see all of those guys come back. Happy to hear that they're all, as a unit, coming back. Obviously important for this staff to have that feather in their cap.
Yeah, and I think having those guys back, it was a way for Satterfield to identify the kind of player he wants to get out of the portal. And it's also great that he has that strong base of some people he brought from Louisville, some holdovers from Fickle, and he knows that those guys are going to set the standard for the freshmen that are coming in, as basically everyone mentioned today. Corleone mentioned it. Mason Fletcher mentioned it, saying they need to be able to see these guys that have been here for 3 years and know how to win and know the process that they have to go through, the routines day by day that have to happen. And also Satterfield saying that, he's going to allow the guys in the locker room, he's going to allow them to have a say in who is brought in. And Luke Kandra even said, he's getting told, hey, you need to reach out to this guy if you want him on the team. We kind of need your help recruiting him. And I know everyone on Twitter, when I tweeted that out, they really liked that. And they saw that the people that have held over really, really trust Satterfield, and they really want him to succeed, and they want to succeed for him.
And I think that's a huge message to be delivered. One of the takeaways I had in that regard was Mason saying, and Dante both, I think they were both asked how important it was for them to announce prior to the transfer portal opening, just to instill their faith in Coach Satterfield and let people know who were either considering entering the transfer portal or incoming guys from the transfer portal know that they were 100% all in, bought in on this staff, and not going anywhere. And I think that's what you want out of your leadership. Kind of going back to the offensive line, all of those guys being back is a huge thing for, especially on offense, where you had just Gavin coming back as a starter, and now you have an entire line coming back that's going to help out in your offensive huddles. It's going to help out in the locker room, and that's all a good thing there. One of the things that Satterfield mentioned is that the leaders are going to be involved with the portal. You kind of alluded to that. The core leadership is going to be back on this team. Those are all just great things for this staff to know. But interesting that the leaders are going to be involved in the portal. I'm curious as to how involved they're going to be in some of that selection process.
I think it could. These guys have a lot of connections, and they know a lot of people throughout college football. I think it could be a case where the players and the coaches are extra careful about bringing in the right personalities and the right culture fit. So they'll say, what about this guy? Does he seem like he conducts himself on social media well? Do his teammates speak highly of him? Do you know anyone? and then just kind of get those character reports from the players and see how they kind of react to it. But I think it's also just a part of, they want the culture fits, and I think the players know what kind of style of play fits with their game the best. And especially the offensive line, I think they can have that feather in the cap to be able to say, we know what works best because we did it last year. Like we had the 5th best rushing offense. Yeah. So I think it's absolutely worth consulting them. If I don't see them bringing in interior linemen. I think they have a good 3 set right now, and also the younger guys that can start rotating in. But if you're going to bring in tackle depth, they want to know who's coming in, and they think they can be able to contribute to that the best. And also something you said earlier about them saying they were coming back before the transfer portal. It's big for the players, but it's also huge for the fans to be able to know that when this portal opens and that there's so much chaos in college football, they know that the most important people on the team and the most important players next year aren't going to bolt. So the entire fan base can just be focused on who's coming in. We already know who's left. So they can just be focused on the new Bearcats of who could possibly be in next season.
The 3 keys for new guys coming in that Dante pointed out is that they need to be able to take coaching. They need to buy into what this staff is doing. And I feel like there was a little bit of disconnect on that throughout this season. And they also need to hold each other accountable. I think those are 3 excellent keys for this team to be looking into.
Yeah, I think there was more selling than buying last season. I don't know if a lot of people were investing in the program. But fair. Yeah, I love how bluntly Dante put it, because he's not a guy that's going to make headlines with being emotional or kind of speaking up passionately. He's a really soft-spoken guy, not reflective in his play on the field. He's an absolute monster, and he's very, very aggressive playing that defensive tackle position. But just to be able to say, we're going to find people who buy in, and if you don't buy in, we don't want you, plain as day. And then that actually got a laugh out of Mason Fletcher and Scott Satterfield. They're like, oh, okay, you just said that in front of everyone. So I thought that was a really good sign to see for this team, and it shows how serious they're all taking it and how upset they were at last year's result and how motivated they all are to turn things around and make sure that it's not repeated, because they know the city deserves more and the fans deserve more specifically.
Speaking about last year, Satterfield mentioned that he feels like he actually knows the locker room, which he didn't know the locker room at all. He came in pretty much blind last year and was entering the transfer portal while trying to get to know the team and trying to figure out what he wanted here, what he didn't want here, who was going to stick around, while also his team and staff were prepping and trying to do the Fenway Bowl. He's putting together the rest of the staff that isn't coming with him. Just a lot of moving parts last offseason. But now he has an actual feel for the locker room, and he knows where the holes are. Just a totally different mindset this offseason.
Yeah, last year was a big part of it was bringing in warm bodies, because you come into a wide receiver room with no one, and you have to Chris Scott. You have to find people to put into those positions. And in terms of finding warm bodies, I think they found some legitimate talent that's going to stick on this team this season. A guy like Xavier Henderson, who's a really, really good talent, who's going to be able to play. Jordan Young is going to be here as well. And I think it's a completely different mindset, because it's very calculated now, where it was chaos last season of just trying to be able to field a team. Now they've gone through this entire season, and I think it's been a long planning period of knowing who's not going to be here. And like we said before, these staffers have been identifying players all throughout the season. They've been studying all these teams of, if this guy were to jump in the portal, we know that he would fit in our scheme and with our team. So it's all been studied very well, and they have so much more time to be able to do exactly what they want to do.
Interesting to hear that Mason Fletcher played through an injury this season and was never quite at 100%. makes sense now as to why his stats weren't quite what they've been, and yet he
Mhm.
still ends up with awards at the end of the season because he's just a beast.
Yeah. And I did love how he said, I was kicking good enough. I still had a decent season, but it just wasn't up to snuff with what I usually want to do. And I love that Chad pointed out and asked him, like, you could have went anywhere. Why did you stay? And he kind of just talked about how well the city has treated him. And he knows that they treated James Smith so well. And there's kind of that Australia to Cincinnati pipeline. And the quote from his dad was really cool, saying money's going to come. Like, that's not going to be an issue. You need to enjoy college. And I think him looking at his current situation and being like, I've been in this place. I love this place. I want to stay in this place and not uproot my life and try to go to a different program, knowing that I can have success here and that this coaching staff really cares about me.
I think that's a huge hat tip to the city of Cincinnati for accepting the young man just right off the rip. There was a lot of talk. I feel like there was a common theme throughout all of the pressers about coming back from adversity. I feel like they all kind of, I don't know if somebody put that in their notes of things that they needed to discuss, but they all seem to get back to the fact that they've been through adversity or talking about this season as being adversity, and they need to figure out how to come out on the other side of it. Just interesting that I think adversity came out of pretty much everybody's mouth.
Yeah, and Mason saying that he learned more this season than he ever has in his entire sports career. And I love how he called it like sport or sporting, and he called Barry Jackson a good footballer. I thought that was like the coolest Australian thing ever. But him saying he learned so much, and Gavin Gerhardt like being completely open and saying, I came into this program at the perfect time. Like, we won so many games, and to be able to be a part of that was awesome. But last year sucked. And we need to do everything possible. And he said, if you give me one more year, I'm going to do my absolute best to try to turn this around. So I love how these guys are here because they responded well to losing, a lot of them, for the first time in their life. And I think that a big part of the struggles last season was seeing guys' true colors of, after the Miami game, Deshaun Pace is suspended for whatever reason. And that's the first bad loss he's suffered in however long. And then you kind of see what transpires and how people react to it. So knowing that these guys are here and that they went through the adversity and that they're good culture fits for the program, knowing that they can lose, learning how to lose and learning how to be better from it, I think is going to be huge. And being able to teach these freshmen how to do the same thing. If this next year is a struggle and Satterfield needs year 3 as that real pressure point, you got to be able to rebound somehow.
Yeah, they talked about you talked about Barry Jackson. They also talked about Jonathan Thompson as like some of the guys that they're thinking about that they need to be around for. Both Dante and Mason talked about they wanted to make sure that they were around for those kind of guys, the guys that were up and coming Bearcat stars in the making, if you will. And just thought that was kind of cool. Coach also mentioned that while he didn't say that they were specifically targeting any group in particular, he also mentioned 3 groups in particular, those being the defensive backs, linebacker, and receiver, which honestly shouldn't surprise anybody.
No, I think Dorian Jones is done, right? He's out of eligibility.
I believe so.
Okay, I should know that. I'm not that good at my job. But so if you're replacing Dorian Jones, which we should probably find out, but he had a really good season. He had a lot of tackles and made a lot of really good plays, kind of being in the right place at the right time all the time and letting Jack Dingle just run free with his hair on fire, trying to get to the quarterback whenever he could. So having that linebacker spot is huge. We all know defensive back was a struggle. And I think you're noticing that and who these guys are offering, and you're seeing it on Twitter. A lot of them are defensive backs. They're trying to get some of them on the campus. And then wide receiver, I think you had a lot of veterans and you had a lot of people leave. I believe Xavier Henderson should be back. And then you can kind of complement him with Barry Jackson. And then Aaron Turner offers a really unique skill set. But then from there, you have to find depth. And I think the thing that this team struggled with last year, as everyone knows, is depth. And it was having good talent at the top and then okay talent and then not a lot underneath it. Now, if you can have good talent at the top and then still good talent behind them to where they could start, and then you have the middle of the roster, I think that's what good teams are made of, and that's what you have to be able to compete in a Power 5 conference.
Yeah, and we'll see if Evan Prater is able to be that complementary piece on the other side, or if they end up going out and getting somebody out of the portal. Surprised. I guess I was a little surprised not to see quarterback or running back mentioned in that regard, but
well, he didn't say they weren't targeting any specific position, but he said there is not a single position that's off limits.
Right.
So he left it open for interpretation.
Except punter. I made that clear. Dorian Jones, I believe, has one more year if he wants to use it.
Oh, okay.
The COVID year. He's played 4 in 5, and he would have 5 to play 6, I think.
I can't wait.
What does that mean? This is why
I can't wait until it's all back to normal. I cannot wait.
But here's what I'll say. If a guy comes in as a senior, a true senior, how many years does he have left?
Depends.
Can he use that grad year at the school, or does he have to transfer in order to use it?
No, he can use it.
Okay.
He can use it.
Okay.
And then we kind of covered, as we talked about Satterfield, Mason, and Dante. We kind of covered.
I did want to get to one other thing on Mason. Sports hernia.
Yeah,
he played injured all year. Makes a lot of sense now.
We talked about that too.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
I just got home from the hospital. I didn't catch all that.
I know. The second portion was Luke Kandra, Corey Kiner, and Gavin. And we kind of glossed on all of that. And then Wes had a presser today as well. It was probably the coach-speakiest coach speak presser I've ever heard Wes give. I was about as bored as he was listening to it, as he was talking through it. The only note I took after listening 17 minutes, thank God for 2 times speed on YouTube. The only note I had was that he didn't feel like, and I feel like he changes this answer pretty much every time he's asked, despite him being asked every year. Said that he can't compare North Carolina and Duke and UC Xavier, but to have this much energy this early in the season in a rivalry game is different.
Yeah, that was the other time that he just sunned me today, being like, yeah, I'm asked this every year. So I'll answer it. I was like, oh, God.
Yeah. You have officially become picked on in the press conference guy.
I know.
Well, he's probably the only one capable of taking it, but
well, that's why they do it. It's been me for the longest time, but now I have a protege, and they're like, "Oh, him. We'll pick on him now."
Down the totem pole.
He still picks on me plenty. Don't worry.
But it was outside of that. There was. I feel like it was vanilla answers, trying not to give any type of bulletin board material for a rivalry game that's going to have plenty of energy on Saturday at 6:30 on FS1 anyway. But I don't know.
Is there going to be a lot of energy?
Well, after tonight's loss, we'll see. Maybe it was a trap game tonight. Delaware, I don't know. It's 3 straight home losses in a row at the Cintas Center for Xavier.
If you've lost 3 in a row at home, 2 of them like you've lost a bye game, you lost to Houston.
It's a
how
bad
are you not
loss
up for Delaware? Like how are you not up for Delaware?
Did you see what Oliveri said? I told Aaron this.
Yeah.
We're a leaderless team.
Yeah.
Not good, Marty.
How are we looking? Not great. Not great.
We also know that this is a Xavier team who at any given year will just have somebody who comes off the bench and pops off for 32 points. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Olivari had they were
34.
He was at 27 when we left for the emergency room.
He finished with 34 tonight.
Yeah. Underrated.
So, yeah, he's underrated. Undervalued.
Under the radar is the problem.
Under the radar, yeah. Yes. Under the radar. It's
Keep
all
in
the
you could probably work for the city paper, Keegan.
Yeah.
It's like one of the things I always teach the young guys is and Aaron learned this when he got started, and Keegan's learning it too. It's all about the wording. You got to use the right words,
If they
or
can
else
find the hole, they're gonna exploit it.
yeah. That's what coaches
Other
do.
than that, though,
Found a weakness in your game plan, and you went right at it.
Other than that, though, Chad and I will be here tomorrow to break down the week of basketball thus far in the Big 12. You have the BCJ pod tomorrow night. Any guests that you want to tease or anything?
I don't think so. I don't
All
think
right.
so tomorrow night.
Time will tell.
Yep.
All
Thanks
right.
for filling in, Keegs.
Happy to be here.
I'm
That's
going to
gonna
have
wrap
the
it up.
flu at some point in time.
Ugh.
Great.
That's going to wrap it up, though. Another nightcap in the books. But thank you to Galactic Fried Chicken for sponsoring the show. Check out Bearcat Journal for all of the portal news and the Crosstown Shootout week. We'll see you tomorrow night. See ya!